of grief, to mourn. We grieve when we lose something. Loss is when we are deprived of something, be departed from, cease to have. Loss is what we grieve. And loss can take several forms. Loss can be the loss of a precious item, a ring, a watch, your grandfather gave to you. Loss can be a friend moving away. Loss can be a relationship that you might have had. Loss can be losing a parent in a divorce. Loss can be a death. Loss takes various different forms. This year, 2020, has been a difficult year for all of us worldwide. This COVID-19, this pandemic, has really taken us by storm. And all of us have experienced loss in several different ways. We've lost jobs. We've lost businesses. We've lost friends. We've lost schooling. Seniors have lost their graduation, lost their senior sports season, their prom. So we've lost in various different ways. I've lost two really good friends. And so I needed to come on to talk about it, to help get through my healing. And hopefully in some small way, I can help you out there in Facebook, YouTube, Instagram land. There are 5 stages of grief that we go through when we've lost something. The first stage of grief is shock and denial. We are in shock to hear about the loss. And sometimes we deny the loss. That can't be so. That didn't happen. The second stage of grief is anger. We become angry, sometimes at ourselves, sometimes at others, angry at God, angry at the doctors, angry at whatever the source might be of that particular loss. The third stage of grief is bargaining. We try to fix the situation, even if it's just in our mind. We bargain with friends. We bargain with loved ones that might be in a relationship. We may bargain with doctors. Can you hang on for a little longer? Next year is going to be our anniversary. You might even bargain with God. God, don't take them, take me. God, he's too young. You know, he just began to live. So bargaining is that third stage in grief. The fourth stage is depression. We feel helpless. What am I going to do now? How am I going to make it? It's not clinical depression wherein you just get into this lost, sunken place that it's really hard to crawl out of. But if you stay in grief depression long enough, it can become clinical. And the fifth stage of grief is acceptance. You finally come to terms with the loss. You finally come to terms, you finally accepted it, and now you can move on. In my book, Over the Tracks, there are several different instances of loss within the book. That's one of the themes. Race, friendship, loss, and overcoming life obstacles at the start of integrated schools. In helping myself to try to get over my grief, I turned to this book, believe it or not. And I want to just share one passage with you. It's a delightful passage. It's a group of 13-year-old boys. And one of the kids in the group just broke up with his girlfriend, and he's experiencing great loss. And so in the story, Let's go to it. Let's go to it. I'll try to do it justice and read it fast. I know people don't like to be read to. But if I can, please indulge me. We didn't say very much else on the way home from school that day. We all were a little sad for him. We liked having May around. She kept us in line most of the time. After a year and a half, she had become an unofficial member of the crew, but no more. Booker was quiet to and from school the next couple of days. Not his usual wisecracking self, only spoke when spoken to. He had calmed down from the rhyming jokester he once was. May had tamed him, made him feel wanted, needed, gave him a sense of pride. And now she was out of his life. He should be used to this. Important people came and went in our lives without any notice. That's how it was on the West Side. He'll get over it. He still had us, the crew, all for one, looking out for each other. Tracking home from school, Elijah asked, "Yo, you want to talk about it?" "No," he answered softly. Ox tried next. "You gotta snap out of it, Book." "No, I don't," he mumbled under his breath. My turn. Mr. Willie was the director at the funeral home that Joseph answered the phone for on the weekends during lunchtime to give him a break, and so Joseph could earn a few dollars. Let's find my place here. Okay. Mr. Willie said, if you talk about it, no, Mr. Willie said, "It's always good to talk when people leave," I said. He fired back, "Jay, sure he was talking about dead people. She ain't dead." "I know, but she's still gone. Out of your life. Don't take this the wrong way, but how much difference are you feeling now than when your favorite cousin Malik died?" Elijah and Ox gasped. Even Ox was shocked. Tiny red veins raced from Booker's white to his pupils. A clenched fist from his pocket rose. He turned toward me in stride. "I'm not trying to be funny. I know you're angry. You get one free shot if you want it. I deserve it." But in the gut, I spoke quickly. He stopped. I stopped. The snarl tightened. Our pause caused a bowling ball effect. Ox crashed into me. Elijah rolled into him. His lips tightened. "Really?" I said, stumbling forward after the crash. Booker didn't respond, just glanced back at me and gave me that Aunt Esther stink eye. Sorry, Ox and Elijah apologized. "Come on, man," I barked before I continued. "But before you hit me, tell me the difference in your feelings now as it was then." Mr. Willie said, "When we lose something, we go through stages: shock and denial, anger, guilt, shame, blaming, before we finally accept the loss. Monday, you were in denial, asking me to go talk to her when you knew it was over. Yesterday, you were angry, snapped at us about everything. And today, you're feeling guilty, blaming yourself for making checker moves when you should have continued to play chess." but there's nothing you can do about it now. He said you'll get over it a lot faster if you talk about it. He said if you don't let go, you'll make yourself sick, depressed, I offered. So that's a little example of some 13-year-old kids. And you know, boys can be crass, but his friends was concerned that he was falling into a state of depression, how quiet he was and how reserved, how he wasn't his normal jokester self to and from school because he had lost his girlfriend. You know, before I leave you, I want to offer maybe a couple of things that we all might be able to do to help us out of this funk that 2020 has put us in. So number one, when you're feeling depressed or you're going through depression, the first thing I would suggest is be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up as you're going through the loss. Yes, it's going to hurt, but don't take it all out on you. Second, be patient with yourself as you're grieving. It's not going to be over tomorrow or the next day or the next day after that. Be patient with yourself as you're grieving. The third thing I would suggest is allow yourself to grieve. Let the hurt hurt. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to want that which you have lost to come back. Don't say things like, men don't cry, or it's a sign of weakness to show that you're hurting or experiencing loss. Don't do that to yourself. Allow yourself to grieve. Another thing I would suggest is talk about it, like Joseph suggested to Booker. He said, Mr. Willie said, talking about it makes it easy. Talk about it. Talk about it with people who are going through the same grief. You know, 2020 has been tough. I mean, we've had situations where our loved ones have passed on and we couldn't even go to funerals. We couldn't hug each other, touch each other, lean on each other as we're trying to grieve and get through the grieving process into accepting the loss for someone. So another thing you can do is write about the loss. Write a poem, write a story about the person that you may have lost. That'll help you get through to the other side as well. Another thing I would suggest is try to get back to some sense of normal. That's going to take a while. But as you slowly work through your grief, try to go to work maybe a half day, or maybe to school a half day, or maybe to practice if you're involved with sports or activities like band or chorus or something. I don't know if those activities are still going on now because of COVID in school, but try to get back to some sense of normal very slowly. Talk with people, laugh with people, tell jokes with people. Give yourself a break from grieving. And please know that grieving is a process. It'll take time. But lastly, if you find yourself stuck in one of those 4 previous stages of grief, shock and denial, anger, bargaining, and depression, it's always a good idea to talk to a grief counselor. That's what they're there for, to help us process our grief, to help us get to the other side of it, to find acceptance of the loss that we've occurred. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that it has helped someone. Please share this video with a family member, a friend, someone who may be going through grief now, who has gone through grief. I would also encourage you to comment under this video. Remember, it's good to talk about it. Let's try to find a community